Welcome to From Small Towns to Global Stages, a think tank media podcast. Hosted by Dru Daniels, this show explores the journey from local beginnings to global opportunities in the world of events, blending real stories, industry insight, and the human side of building a career. Start small, show up big. Here we go.
Hello, super cool people, and welcome back to From Small Towns to Global Stages. This is Dru, your host, and today we have Miss Erika Kowalczyk with us. So let's go ahead and get started. So after some brief LinkedIn research and our conversation, you've been in the industry for 23 years, correct? Or roughly around there. Okay.
Roughly, yeah.
And all right, awesome. And right now you're the director of global events at the International Society of Stem Cell Research, and you've been there for 4 years right now, correct?
Oh, actually 7.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay,
Over
wow.
7 years, yeah.
That's so awesome. Okay. So you've obviously had to work your way up there if you've been there for 7 years and you're
Mhm.
now the director. So could you kind of provide us with a background about how you ended up in that position and just like your trajectory in the world of events in general?
Oh, so from the beginning, huh?
Might as well, right?
Well, let's see. I started out in the association world doing certification customer service work, and an opportunity came up, and someone told me, "Oh, you should totally do this job, this meeting planning job, because it's the easiest thing you're ever going to have to do." And I was like, it sounds too good to be true. She was like, "No, Erica, you get to travel, you'll get to, experience, and all you have to do is just do a rooming list and put the book together." Back when we printed books.
Right.
And I'm like, I don't know, but okay, I applied. Sure enough,
Mhm.
I got the job and I started working in it. And little did I know is that the person who was there didn't have a lot of responsibilities. And so when I started working, they were like, "Oh, we can give you more."
Right.
And
Easy
so,
job.
yeah, so it grew from there. And
Mm.
so, like many people probably around my age, we kind of fell into meeting planning, where you just kind of saw an opportunity, figured, hey, it's going to be fun and you get to travel. And I've been traveling since I was little. So I was used
Mhm.
to it, and just really took it from there. And I worked in different aspects of event planning. So I
Yeah.
was there for my first job for like 13 years. And then I went
Wow.
to a medical association and worked there for about 6 years. And that was interesting because then I learned on the medical association side how different that is. Sunshine Act, cadavers, things like that, where you're just like,
Right.
okay. And then a mutual friend of mine, she had an opportunity for me to work with her there
Yeah.
in doing international planning again. And I was like, okay.
Mhm.
And just took it from there. And then the pandemic hit, and then
Right.
things changed. And so then
Mhm.
just worked my way up, and they offered me the opportunity, happily accepted it. And here I am. Um,
Awesome.
yeah, really happy about it. I get to travel the world again, and I
Yeah.
get to plan events. And it's interesting because for me, event planning it has its fun part of always trying to figure out a puzzle in a way sometimes,
Mm.
and then being quick on your feet. Because
Okay.
basically, when you're planning events, what you're doing is you're pretty much doing it all beforehand, right? You're getting
Mm.
your
Mhm.
orders in, you're confirming with your vendors, you're
Yeah.
handling your rooming lists and things like that. But the part that once you get all that done and you're on site, at that point, really, you're just waiting to take out a fire. Something happens. Oh, the food's not delivered on time. And like, okay, now we have to move this, or, the
Right.
sign's not there and we got to go find it, or whatever it is. Now, you always hope and plan for like the best of everything is going to happen,
Right.
but sometimes you just got to think on your feet. And that's the exciting part.
Yeah. That's awesome. Okay, so that piqued my interest. So now this is kind of more of a curiosity question.
Yeah.
What was like the craziest fire you had to put out at an event?
Um, So I was at an event in Arizona. It was for a medical association, and I was just finished having lunch, and I walked out into the hallway to see, check on the rooms. And next, I saw a crowd of people, and I was like, okay. And I see someone laying on the floor. I'm calling the hotel contact concierge people. I go, we got a woman laying on the floor. emergency. They took it from there. And then from that point, as I saw them on the floor, and they were all doctors, so they were all trying to help.
Right.
Oh, I'm trying to diffuse them because they're all trying to call 911. Well, I've already done my part where the hotel then takes it from there as part of their procedure to call 911. So they'll be able to direct the ambulance to where it needs to go because it was a big
Yeah.
And so we're trying to tell all these doctors, please stop dialing 911. What's the address? Don't please hang up. We've already
got it.
Please go back
Right.
into the room. Go back
my
to
gosh.
studying. Everyone, and it's just like it was crazy. That probably was the one that I remember the most. For me, I know I've heard stories from others, but that one for me,
Right.
yeah,
I'm sure. Oh my gosh. Like,
yeah, she turned
just,
out
like,
okay.
that's good.
Yeah, she was.
Right.
She actually did not follow the advice that most doctors tell you
Oh.
to stay hydrated, make sure you take your medicine, and then you eat. Right? She did none of that. She didn't eat. She didn't drink.
Goodness.
She was taking her medication. She felt lightheaded and passed out. And then, of course, we're in Arizona, and she's sitting outside, laying in the sun at over 100 degrees.
No.
And I'm just like, this woman's going to cause me to have a heart attack because what's she doing? So that one I found very amusing.
I'm
but
sure.
scared at the same time because I was just like, gotta get out of
What
this.
is happening? What do I do?
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
I can only imagine. Because I'm sure you just like expected just like a leisurely walk, just checking on everybody, and then like that's in front of you, and you're like, right, okay.
Yeah, it
Now
was
we gotta
definitely
go.
one of those meetings where it was just like they were pretty much in their room the whole day. They came out for lunch, they go back in. It was just nothing that was like complicated or anything like that. But yeah, when they came out, I was like, oh man. But it was on a funnier note, aside from unfortunately you're passing out, the women I was with who was working either the hotel or the team, we were waiting for the EMTs to show up, of course, make sure she was okay. But then the fire department showed up, and it was like the calendar of firemen walking by, and we were all like, oh, hello.
Please. That's so funny. Oh my gosh.
We were just like, oh, no, this is great. Like, after another, we were just like, we were in Arizona, like we feel heat exhausted now, type of thing.
My gosh.
So, yeah, it was definitely
That's so
it was
funny.
hilarious. It was, I mean, we had to make some light of the whole situation, right?
Right.
But, yeah.
It's all about the silver lining. Be optimistic.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, that's so funny.
Yeah.
Okay. That made my day. Hands down. Hands down, best part of my day right there. All right. So as we dive back in.
Yeah.
So we're gonna start to transition into international planning and how you prep your team for doing international events. So what is it like as like a whole planning international events? Just like overview.
So it's basically how can I describe this? It's like you're planning a national meeting here in the United States, but then jacked up on steroids, right?
Right.
Right. So it's pretty intense in the sense that now you're having to work with a different country, region, wherever you were planning outside of the US. You're dealing with language, you're dealing with culture, you're dealing with terminology. My favorite is always when here in the States, we call them high boys. But in like 8 parts of Asia, they call them mushroom table.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
I remember that hearing the first time, they're like, we'll get you some mushroom tables. And I'm just like, wait, what?
What?
That type of stuff. So, things like that where it's now doing an extra step, right? You're not just planning a meeting with your traditional stuff. Now it's kind of figuring out, okay, what terms are they using to describe this? We need this type of setup. Right. And so then therefore there's a little bit more detail that comes into it, a little bit more explanations that have to happen. I'm a big proponent of pictures. If you have pictures of what you've done in the previous years or what exactly you're talking about, whether it's a poster board, a hide boy, crescent rounds, whatever it is that you're trying to explain to them, I always try to provide pictures. Like, this is what I'm looking for, which is super helpful for them because then they come back and they tell you what the term is in their world. And then you then you're like, okay, yes, that's what I'm going to put in your specs. So then therefore, when you send it to them, they're like, I got you. We're good.
Okay.
But yeah, definitely the cultural thing. Sometimes it's language. Sometimes it's for some staff that they're very new to the world,
Right.
understanding time zones. When they're like, well, they're
Oh,
not answering me. And they're like, yeah, well, because it's midnight.
right. They shouldn't be answering you. Like,
Exactly. If they are, there's another
yeah.
problem. But
Right.
yeah, one of those where it's like having an understanding of now you're dealing with someone with a whole different area of the world.
Mm, yeah.
Some of it is just understanding the cultures too, and when holidays are happening. Like you don't want to
Mm,
communicating. You're not going to get to anybody during Chinese New Year if you're working in Taiwan or China, for instance.
okay.
It just there's nothing you can do because they're all gone.
Right.
So kind of getting an understanding if you are doing a program there, just know, okay, those are those dates that you need to kind of make sure either you catch them right before or you're going to have to wait until after.
Okay.
So those are the things that's just a little bit more detail that kind of goes into planning.
Right. So when talking about all those nuances and talking to your team, like as you're heading into that foreign culture and like preparing your team for that, what does that kind of look like? Like how do you get ready to prep them for that, whether they're seasoned
So,
or not?
so one of the things I like to do, especially with, I had to actually kind of do this a little bit with teams before that have never been outside of the US, is I would sometimes provide trivia like to make it fun, to have an understanding
Yeah.
of the culture and of like
Mm-hmm.
the music or, something about the history behind it. And so it's having a little bit of fun with that to kind of give some people an understanding of where these people are and how they are, just to
Mm-hmm.
kind of kick it off and have a little fun. I mean, you can't do
Yeah.
this job without at least having some fun with it.
Right.
The
For
Yeah,
sure.
and so then the other thing is just kind of easing them into how, like, for instance, what I did with one staff member is I started the conversation with the vendor and then I had her go and continue it, but still guiding her along the way. Like you have to be
Mm-hmm.
precise, you have to be exact with what you're saying. So some of that is kind of like a little bit of handholding, but it does help
Right.
once you see that they're comfortable and
Mm-hmm.
understanding how to communicate, then they can move forward with that.
Okay. So then going kind of off of that, what are some challenges you've faced? Like you've created these training procedures to kind of prep them for that, but then where do those challenges lie in prepping them?
Challenges sometimes if they're too hard on themselves as staff and they're like, oh my God, I totally messed up. It's sometimes just saying it's okay, just as long as you're being respectful. I mean, that's
Right.
the key to everything is you just definitely want to give them the respect and the space. That's another challenge is sometimes we are in this, and at least for us Americans, we're very quick, right? We're very fast.
Right.
And so sometimes it's good to give them the space. And so that's a challenge, right?
Mm.
Where you send an email and you kind of have to give them maybe a week to respond back. It
Oh,
might
wow.
be nail biting because you're sitting
Yeah.
there going, I need some answers,
Right.
but it's one of those where they'll get to you when they can't because there's a lot of holidays, there's just a lot of stuff
Yeah.
happening. But those can be some of those challenges in dealing with having to educate the staff and understanding what they need to do and understand how it is to communicate with those groups.
Yeah. So have you seen like when it comes to the cultural differences? So I had the opportunity to travel abroad and we went to Germany. And one of the big things we talked about was like the German people tend to be very on time. Whereas like we had another group of students that went and traveled to Italy. And so like when they were there, it was a lot more relaxed. They weren't as punctual, just a different type of cultural mentality. So when you've
Yeah.
been planning across borders, like how does that reign true depending on the culture and like the common like I guess stereotypes that come with that.
Yeah, I
Like,
know.
have you seen that?
I don't like using the word stereotype so much,
Right.
but in some
Mhm.
cases it's kind of true.
Yeah.
In Germany, yes, it's very exact and precise and timely. Um, Italy, Mexico, where my parents are from, and India, it is very
Yeah.
like we got you, and then it's like that, but that's not an answer. When can I get it? No, we've got you, and I'm like, it's 2 weeks
But
away.
yeah.
I have nothing, it's definitely a little bit of that stress to kind of understand. And then, at the end of the day, I think this is the key with working with folks in those countries that maybe aren't in the same intensity of trying to get stuff done and early is
Mm,
to know that they're there definitely to make sure your event is good.
Okay.
Anytime that I've worked in events or planned events in different countries, at the end of the day, even though they are, yeah, we got you and later or soon, it'll be
Yeah.
soon, type thing. At the end of the day, when you get to it, they come through. It's last
Okay.
minute, with the fact that, at that end of the wire, they're getting it done. But by the time your show starts, it's done. It's ready. Because it doesn't
Mm,
do any good for them to be bad or late or anything like that.
right.
It's a different way of just handling it. So that's also one of those things that can cause a lot of stress for planners is when you're dealing
Mm,
with some of those cultures that are very much like laid back about how they
right.
approach things. Definitely one of those where I remember we did a program in Brazil and I was working with a new planner and I told her, I'm like, I'm going to warn you now, it's going to be a bit of time and you're going to have to follow up, but then you have to be respectful. And so it's
Right.
definitely, it's a lot about respect and just understanding and being flexible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So then when prepping your team and talking about recommendations for other people that are in the same position as you are prepping people to plan international events, do you have like a couple that you would like, this is definitely what I do when I'm trying to prep my team for those cultures and that are just a little bit different or just like other international cultures in general?
No, I think I'm pretty much the same with how I ever handle whichever culture. It's just making sure that the staff understand where we're going, how we're
Hmm.
impacting that area. And if there is something that they need to be mindful of, like for instance, the laid back feel to it, then, or if like, other cultures that are very like, very on top of it and you have to be
Right.
precise. You also have some groups or some areas in the world where you need to provide your information months in advance. And some
Oh,
people are not
wow.
used to that. And so
Yeah.
it's that kind of goes into all of that. So
Right.
yeah, you have to approach it almost the same. You just like go in, figure out the area you're in, especially if it's an area I'm not familiar with. I will talk to other planners. I will, some of my mentors or do some research just to get a better understanding of where I'm going and how things are handled.
Yeah.
Talking to other planners who've been there is a huge resource because they can definitely give
Okay.
you those tips of, oh, watch out for this, or don't forget to do this, or here's a great
Mm-hmm.
company we worked with that will make it a lot easier for you.
Yeah.
Now I tried other groups, they're not great. This is the one to go with, things like that, recommendations like that really do help. But I like to approach it kind of like, let me find out where I'm going, get as much information from my fellow planners, and then from there,
Mm.
share, and then we grow together with it. Because if it's new to all of us, and it's just going to have some of those learning blocks that go along the way.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that makes total sense, especially the whole connecting with those that have been there and experienced it. That's so, I think, undervalued in some aspects with certain people. So I definitely think that's a great piece of advice and recommendation when it comes to just planning across different cultures. So then this next question kind of focuses a little bit more on your team in general, but have you noticed a difference when you have new planners that are new to either your company and planning internationally versus brand new planners? So like maybe those seasoned planners plan domestically and then they transition into international versus like they're fresh out of college or wherever and now they're planning international. Is there like a disconnect when it comes to training or something like that about like planning across different cultures?
Okay. Um, when you have a seasoned planner who's done it, whether it's internationally or nationally, they at least have the baseline of
Mm-hmm.
what it means, what it takes to do it all. It's just then now having the learning curve of learning how to do it internationally. Having someone right out of college who doesn't is a bigger learning curve because
Okay.
first of all, they're still trying to learn the basics. Because as
Mm-hmm.
much as they teach you in school and any type of thing, they teach you all this stuff in school. And then when you get to the real world, it's slightly different. And so with that, you have to kind of learn as you go along with the experience. So therefore, for me right now, actually, I have a person who is trying to be a meeting planner. She just got promoted within. And so right now it's teaching her about how to plan, what information you need to gather, what things you need to start sharing. And then on top of that is the international component. And so luckily she's worked with us before. And so she knows how to do that. So it's kind of like in reverse for her. So she kind of understands, where there's little like differences. It's just now the basics. So it's a little bit different for me right now because I don't have Like I had one, but then she left to go become a director in her own city because she was remote. And so this one is I'm now teaching someone to become a planner to then eventually, hopefully, handle her own program. So it does help to have the experience of planning. I feel like for her, if it was a reverse, it's easier to teach the international part than the other way around.
Okay, awesome. That's great to know. And I mean, it makes sense. Like, at least you have a baseline of understanding of what it's like to plan large
Mhm.
events, and then you can, like you said, learn that international aspect. So,
Yeah.
thank you for your time. I am so appreciative, and I think this
Wait, we're
conversation
done?
has been. We're almost done. You have one more
Oh,
question.
oh, okay. Like this has
I
gone
know
really
it
fast.
flies, doesn't it? Yes,
It's
it flies.
great.
It's crazy. So, as we wrap up with our final question, what is the biggest piece of advice that you would give to a student or just somebody that's wanting to break into the event industry or the international industry as a whole?
So one of the things I would say is network. Go to those events that are offered by whether it's MPI, PCMA, what have you, ASAE, Association Forum. There's a ton of them out there. And just start connecting with people because that is going to be that group of potential mentors or confidants or even people that you can bounce ideas off that's going to help guide you, especially when you're given a project and you're like, okay, I've never done anything like this before. Hey, to the group, how can I do this? Where can I go? I know there's a Facebook group that's only for meeting planners. There are no salespeople in that group. That's a great way to bounce ideas off of them. But yes, definitely. I know they always say make sure you find out who you know and everything like that. But it's really true to kind of help guide you too, because with the years of experience, all of us as planners, especially seasoned ones, are always happy to provide the guidance or help or answer the questions. So definitely networking.
Okay. Well, thank you. I definitely agree with that. That's what they tell us in school. Like you gotta network, you gotta find people, you gotta meet people. And
Mhm.
it's funny because it seems like the world and like the industry is so big, but it's really not as big as you imagine it to be. So, which is just obviously super helpful to know as well. So,
Yes.
this has been awesome. Obviously, I've had so much fun. Your
Good.
stories are great. Oh my gosh. So it's been great kind of just diving into your background and then talking about like how you prep your team for international events and like how you prep them for the cultures they're about to walk into. So thank you again for sitting down with me. And then for everybody that's tuned into this episode, I hope you've enjoyed it. And then once again, continue to be whoever your unique self is and never forget to be the beautiful person that you are. So thank you all so much and goodbye.
Thanks for spending time with us on From Small Towns to Global Stages, part of Think Tank Media and Hospitality Nexus, a global human-first platform connecting the hospitality ecosystem in one place, like a career fair that never closes. Watch all episodes at hospitalitynexus.org. Wherever you're starting from, keep going and stay beautiful.